There we go. I want to do that. And that, there we go. Ah. Okay. Okay. Now let me do this. Do this. Okay, I'm going to put this in the chat room to everybody here so that you can see this. And I want you to go ahead and open it up, and then we're going to look at the second slide here. Okay. And I'm going to read a story here that a little bit about John Sieska as he's talking about his writing. Okay. So this is from a book called Author Talk, and they're doing an interview of John Sieska. I'm going to read this. And while I'm reading it, you can think about your answer to this. What did you find out about John Sieska? Okay. So, and you can type your answer in the box here as I'm reading it. It's not very long. It's about a page and a half. Okay. So as I'm reading it, you have time here to write your response or think about it. Afterwards, I'm going to give you about a minute or so of think time to type your answer. So you don't have to type it while we're listening. You can listen to it, and then we'll give you some think time afterwards. Okay. All right. So this is an interview with John Sieska. Question is, what kind of boy were you? Here's his response. A nice boy, and I always did good. Actually, I was a stealth kid, the kind of kid who sits in the back of the class and cracks jokes. I would get my friends in trouble by making them laugh while I sat by quietly, trying to look innocent. Question, did you like books as a kid? I loved Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Hams, P.D. Eastman's Go Dog Go, and The Carrot Seed by Ruth Krauss and Crockett Johnson. I'd make my mom read them over and over until they were burned into my brain. Did you enjoy writing? I was so jazzed by the writing in Dr. Seuss's books that I tried to write my own funky little verses. From then on, I always wanted to be a writer. I can remember in 4th and 5th grade looking on the library shelves for the place where books by me would be in an alphabetical order. I always looked in the adult section. There was just one problem. I wasn't sure how to spell Sieska. My teachers couldn't even pronounce my last name. During roll, the teacher would always say, Tom Schmidt, John, then there'd be this big long pause. For years, I signed my papers, John S. Even now, late at night, I still can't quite get all the letters. How did you end up writing for children? Well, I first tried writing grown-up fiction while painting people's apartments to make a living. I then got a job teaching elementary school. That's when I rediscovered kids' books and kids. Where did you get your ideas for books? I used to say, from a little old lady in Schenectady who sends me one each week. But the real answer is from thinking and from other books. As a kid, I always wondered whether there was a list somewhere of all the books that a person should read. Many of my own books, The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, The Stinky Cheese Man, the Time Warp Trio series, are really about other books and stories. I like the idea that no one book can point readers to others they might like to read. What is your advice for children who want to write? Write. I know that sounds stupid, but that's really it. It's good practice to imitate your favorite writers. All writers do that at first. Eventually, if you keep writing, you will find your own voice. Okay, so that's John Sieska talking about him. So think, what did you learn about him, and write your answer there. We're going to give everybody another minute here to construct their response to our question. Keep going. We'll give you more time. I like that we're still writing. It's obvious we need more time. All right. I love the answers or responses I'm hearing there and seeing, and you can see some of your other friends. So let's talk about this. Okay. One thing I want to share with you for each of you in your own box. I went and did this for Asher because he's typing his answer, and you notice his answer keeps getting bigger and bigger and his box keeps getting bigger. It is okay if your answer, it starts getting really big and you got a lot to write. It's okay for you to go in and highlight it and then come up here where the number is. It says it's 9. I changed the size of the font because he had an 11 and it was getting really big and it was kicking his way down. He can change the size of his font to now it will make his box, it'll fit in his box a little easier. Okay, so it's okay to do that. All right, so if your response gets a little bigger and you want to change that, that's okay, that we can change it, but we don't want to go below an 8 because if we go below 8, then it gets really tiny and it gets hard to read it. Okay. All right, so who'd like to tell us here? Well, I guess we can't share our writings with us now because we had our person who's been doing this decided to do it again and delete our slides. Sorry, guys, because you put a lot of effort into what you just did, and I appreciate that, and I love the writings that we were doing. Okay, so we're going to go on here. because we have one more thing that we're going to do. And I'm sorry, it's taken me a few seconds to get this to load back up to where we'll be able to see our final thing that we're going to do here today in reading before we get to our, in writing before we get to our final, where you get to do your independent writing. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put this into the chat. I want you to go ahead and click on this, and we're going to go, and I have slide 3 that I'm showing here. There's nothing that you're going to type in this, but I want you to go to your Google Drive, which is in our student view. I'm going to click on student view. We're going to go to Google Drive. And in your Google Drive, you're going to find your article where you've been doing your writing, your journaling, because we're going to give you time to journal here. Okay, so you go through and find your one where you've been doing your journaling and click on it and open it. We're going to give you 10 minutes here for journal writing time. So here's some options for writing today that I have on the screen. Write something interesting you learned about John Sieska. You can add ideas to your writing ideas section that we've been doing. Work on the piece you started yesterday, or you have time to start a new piece of writing in your digital journal today. Okay, but right now we're going to give you 10 minutes to go ahead and start adding some of this to your journal. Okay, so you get a 10-minute writing time. I'm going to put the timer up here for 10 minutes. Okay, and so we'll give you 10 minutes worth of writing time here. I'm going to start the timer. Okay, now, so you have 10 minutes to do your own. Asher, that's great, because the journal says, hey, you can start a new piece of writing in your own journal. Okay, you could do your fairy tale that you were wanting to do yesterday. So there's some options there that you have for your own writing today. Okay. Ella, you want to make a new file, or you lost, you can find your file for your journal entry?
I did. It's just that I'm done with my retelling fairy tales.
That's okay. You can just keep going. Just keep on typing it because it's going to open another page right below it. We'll just keep doing our whole journal that way, okay?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mhm. All right. So that was our personal writing time that we have for today. Okay. We're going to give you about a 3-minute break here. So a stretch to stand up and move around, and then we'll get started with reading. Okay. So we're going to give you a short break. I'm going to pause our recording while you go take a break here, and then we'll come back and get started. I'll put 3 minutes on the board here for us. Recording again. I'm going to then share our screen, and I want to share with you something here. So I'm going to show you a student view, and I'm going to share with you how to do, where to find our meetings, because some people are saying, hey, I've got to leave, I got to go do things. That's okay. I understand. You're at home. Sometimes the internet disconnects you and you lose out on different things. That's okay. On our course page, it's got home Zoom announcements. We show down here, it says student, parent, teacher, schedule, resources, recorded meetings. Well, if I go to recorded meetings and I click on that, then it gives me the dates, and then it gives me the morning session, the afternoon session. Here I'm putting morning session. We'll put a recording in there for English and reading. Then we'll have a recording for the afternoon for math. So you'll be able to click to find which session you wanted that you missed. Okay, so this is the morning session. So this is our morning meeting and specials. Okay, and then I'll have a recorded one for our afternoon time when we have English and reading, and then math in the afternoon. So that's where you'll be able to find all of those things in there. Okay? All right. Any questions from anybody on being able to find the recordings? Okay, Sean. So you got a hand up here. I'm coming to you, bud. What's your question?
I got speech today, and it's at 2:30. So
Yes. So you leave and go to speech. Do you have your link from the speech teacher for your Zoom meeting?
yes.
Okay. So when you leave to go do that, you'll be able to go to that. Whatever you miss in there, I'll have a recorded meeting for math in the afternoon. If there's anything that's in there that you need to make up, you could watch that video to see what we did, and you can speed up in the video to move it ahead, just like when you're watching a video on YouTube, because that's where it's going to be, is on a YouTube link. You can adjust it to where you move it to just to the part where you missed, and see if there's anything that you needed to do in there. Okay?
Okay.
All right. All right. Okay, so our chats that are going on about birthdays right now, we're going to ask you to hold that off till later. You guys can have that private conversation some other time. Okay. But we're going to talk today. We started the other day by looking at, well, we're going to finish our writing today by going to our homepage, our course page. I'm going to share with you again, because we've got an exit ticket for writing that you're going to do today before we get started on reading. Okay, so I'm going to go here to student view. So I've got my screen shared, so everybody's going to go to their course page, and you're going to click on student. Okay, this is September 14th through the 18th, so we're clicking on that. We're going to Thursday, ELA, being a writer 1.3, because that's going to be where our exit ticket is. We're going to click on that, and it's going to pop up an exit ticket. Okay, so you're going to type your answers in there. You're going to put your name, and you're going to answer the questions. There's 2 questions to answer. When you get finished, you're going to click submit. Okay, and then you're going to be done for today. Okay, on your exit ticket. All right, so right now everybody has time to complete their exit ticket. Is there anybody who needs help locating your exit ticket? Matthew.
I share screen.
Okay, so we go to Matthew, watch my screen here because I'm going to share it with you how to get there again. Okay. So I'm clicking on student. I'm clicking on to this week, September 14th through the 18th. And here's Thursday. So I'm going to go down on Thursday till we get to ELA. There's ELA. And I'm clicking on Being a Writer 1.3. And then there's your exit ticket. Type in your answer to the 3 questions and then click submit when you're done.
Then we can leave.
Nope.
Oh yeah.
Nope. We're going to go on to reading after that.
Okay.
Okay. Brian.
There's just it says being a writer 1.3 exit ticket, but it doesn't have the questions.
So it should have the 3, it should have ask for your name and then have 2 questions after it.
No, it just says no due date, 10 points, and available after.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of Sankofa Read
at 12 a.m.
It should be there. Let me see your screen. Okay, that's the problem. We got to go to Google Chrome and open it up rather than in Safari. Okay, because remember we want to use Google Chrome instead of Safari when in the, oh, we are on Chrome. No, we're not. Yeah, click that one out. Click the red dot. Click the red dot. Okay, now click on that one. Click anywhere on there. Okay, now go down to your Bulldog. Click on Clever. Now that's why it keeps going to it's going that way. All right, let's click on the red dot. Okay. Click on the Clever again. We're going to have to just go that way because we're going to have to reorganize yours to where it uses Chrome instead of Safari. Click on Canvas. We'll have to do that later. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and exit screen share with me and we'll get to that here. All right, we're going to give you about another minute here and then we're going to get started on our next on reading. All right, time is up there. So hopefully you've finished your exit ticket. If not, that's something you need to finish and submit. Okay, we are going to watch here a little story that's about community. Okay, and because that's part of our thing is we're building a classroom community right now. So this particular story that we're going to read is Mrs. Katz and Tush. Okay, and so she's going to read this aloud to us, and then we'll talk about, have a couple questions that we're going to answer about community. All right, so here we go.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of Sankofa Read Aloud. Today's story is titled Mrs. Katz and Tush, written by Patricia Palaco. I hope that you enjoy this amazing story. Larnell didn't know Mrs. Katz was very well, but almost every other day his mother stopped in to see her after work. Since her husband died, she's so alone, his mother had told him. Mrs. Katz held tight to his mother's hand, and the day they looked at an old photo album. "That's my husband, Myron," said Mrs. Katz. "He came from Poland like me a long time ago. We had such a life, such a life." Then her voice broke. "We had no children, and I'll be all alone for Hanukkah and Passover." Then she cried. The next day, Larnell stopped in to see her himself. "I've been thinking," he said. "A cat had some kittens in the basement of our building. We found someone to take them all except this one. She's the runt. Nobody wants her because she is so ugly. She doesn't even have a tail." "Ugly, you say?" Mrs. Katz said. "My Myron was ugly too when he was little, but he grew up to be such a person." Mrs. Katz looked at the little kitten, scrawny little boobala, so small, no tail.
I played this one the other day,
As
didn't
she
I?
examined the kitten closely. "I don't
All
know,"
right,
she said doubtfully.
I don't know how
Then she-
this one got the wrong link put in there. Okay, so let's do this story instead. Put the wrong story on that one. All right, give me a second here. I'll get to the correct story because the other day our computers, my Google Drive went, there we go. This is the one I'm looking for. Okay. Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Jesse.
This one is Desmond and the Very Mean Word.
Today, this one is called Desmond and the Very Mean Word by Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Douglas Carlton Adams. So let's get right into it and see what it's about. Desmond was very proud of his new bicycle. He was the only child in the whole township who had one, and he couldn't wait to show it to Father Trevor. Father Trevor was kind and loving, and when he laughed, his eyes sparkled and his whole body shook. Father Trevor didn't care if you were rich or poor, black or white, old or young. He raised his hat and smiled at everyone he met. He especially loved the children and would even let them play marbles on the floor of his office, where he met with many important people who came to visit. As Desmond sped down the dirt road, he admired the bicycle's shiny black body and the white stripe on the rear fender. Oh, it was beautiful. When he turned the corner, he saw a gang of boys, and they saw him. They stepped into the road and blocked his path. He didn't dare stop. What if they took his bike? Desmond gripped the handlebar and raced towards the boys, dust flying behind him. The boys scattered out of the way, but the tallest, a red-haired boy, spat out a very mean word. The other boys laughed and shouted the mean word again and again. Desmond pedaled away as fast as he could. His heart pounded and his chest ached. When Desmond got to Father Trevor's office, he threw down his bicycle. His teeth were clenched, and the mean word kept repeating itself over and over inside his head like echoes in a dark cave. Father Trevor looked up as Desmond burst into his office. "What's wrong?" he asked, excusing himself from a meeting. Father Trevor always knew when something was wrong. "Nothing," Desmond said. Father Trevor bent down until he was looking directly into Desmond's face. His smiling eyes always made you feel like you were the most important person in the world. "You can tell me anything." Desmond glanced down at his dusty bare feet and finally muttered, "Some boys. They shouted a very mean word at me." "I'm sorry that happened," Father Trevor said. "They hurt your feelings, didn't they?" Desmond's shoulders relaxed a little bit and he nodded. "Can you forgive them?" Father Trevor asked. "No, never," Desmond said, his fist balled at his side. "I will get them back." Father Trevor sighed. "That is the problem, Desmond. You will get them back, and then they will get you back, and soon our whole world will be filled with nothing but getting back." That night, Desmond lay in bed trying to read his comic book by candlelight. Instead of the words on the page, he kept seeing the mean word written over and over again. The next day, no matter how fast he pedaled to school, Desmond couldn't leave the word behind. All day, the mean word followed him around like a shadow in the hot sun. As he rode home that afternoon, he saw the boys again. His hand and face felt hot. Maybe, he thought, if he got even, he would stop thinking about what they had called him. So he raced past the boys and shouted the meanest word he could think of. He could hear the boys running after him. Desmond pedaled hard, his heart pounding. Finally, he looked back. The boys had given up the chase. At first, Desmond felt proud, but very soon he began to feel something else. It was not a good feeling. The mean word he had said left a bitter taste in his mouth. After school the next day, Desmond went to Father Trevor's. "Are you feeling any better, Desmond?" Father Trevor asked as he sat on the floor shooting marbles with children. Desmond shook his head from side to side and frowned. "When people say mean words to us, we often feel ashamed of who we are," Father Trevor said. "They can make us feel a little less lovable, but it's not true." Lowering his face close to the floor, Father Trevor lined up a marble in the chalk circle. "Desmond, everything we do matters. If we smile or if we frown, if we say something nice or something mean." Father Trevor flicked the shooter with his thumb and hit the marble out of the circle. "When we hurt someone," Father Trevor said as he got up, "it hurts us too." That night, Father Trevor dropped in to see Desmond's parents. Desmond carried a teapot into the living room, then went outside. Usually he would try to listen to what the adults were saying, but tonight he just wanted to be alone. Sitting on the doorstep, Desmond looked up at the starry sky, an empty ache in his chest. He thought he could even see the mean word written in the face of the moon. "That's a very nice bicycle you have," Father Trevor said as he sat down next to Desmond. The black paint gleamed in the moonlight. Desmond had forgotten to show his bike to Father Trevor. It didn't matter now. He just shrugged and turned his back. He didn't want to talk, not even to Father Trevor. "Still thinking about the mean word?" Father Trevor asked. Desmond slowly nodded. "Our hearts are fragile and easily hurt. This is why we're given a way to heal them. It's called forgiveness." "How can I forgive them? They haven't said they're sorry." "You don't need to wait until someone says they're sorry to forgive them." You have the power to forgive whenever you are ready. I'm not ready, Desmond said. That's fine, Desmond. Only you will know when you are. Father Trevor got up to leave. Desmond felt a lump in his throat. Father Trevor said very softly, let me tell you a secret, Desmond. When you forgive someone, you free yourself from what they have done or said. It's like magic. A week later, Desmond was riding his bicycle down the street when he saw the boy with red hair surrounded by two older boys. That'll teach you, one of them said, dunking the head of the red-haired boy into a bucket of water. Seconds later, the boy managed to raise his head, his hair wet, standing up like a carrot top. He looked like he was about to cry. A woman appeared at the door. Leave your brother alone. You're as bad as your father. Now, get in this house before She didn't finish her sentence before the brothers were inside and the door had slammed shut. To Desmond's surprise, he felt sorry for the redhead boy. A few days later, Desmond ran into the neighborhood market to buy his father a newspaper. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a flash of red. Turning, Desmond realized it was the redhead boy. He was standing alone in front of the candy counter. It was filled with lollipops and delicious chocolates. Desmond wanted to say something, but what? Thinking of the mean word he had shouted to the boy, Desmond finally blurted out, I'm sorry for what I said. The boy looked at him, speechless. Finally, he stammered, I guess well, Desmond didn't need the boy to say he was sorry. It would have been nice, but as Father Trevor had said, it really wasn't necessary. I forgive you, Desmond said quietly. As soon as the words were out of his mouth, Desmond felt a little stronger and a little braver and stood up a little taller. After buying the newspaper, Desmond went outside. The red-haired boy was sitting on a milk crate under the shady tree. The boy stood up and moved towards him. Desmond froze. The boy looked around to see if anybody was watching and then handed Desmond a piece of candy. For just a moment, Desmond looked into the boy's eyes and smiled. Then he hurried to get back on his bike, first popping the piece of chocolate into his mouth. As the sun set behind the houses, Desmond pedaled home fast, not out of fear, but out of joy. The cool wind felt good against his face. He wanted the sweet taste of chocolate on his tongue to last forever. Slowly, he spread his arms out wide as if he were flying. At last, Desmond knew what it felt like to be free. It was as if he would embrace the whole world in his outstretched arms. And that's the end of the story. That's a great story about forgiveness, isn't it? Forgiveness is really important. Well, I hope you like the story, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.
All right, so that is the story about Desmond and the Very Mean Word, and it is dealing with community. Okay, so we will get ready to take our break here for lunch, and we will then come back together at 1 o'clock. We'll have a couple of little questions that we'll answer about community, and then we'll start in on math, okay? And so I would like to see Matthew and Jesse to hang around for a few seconds here, and then we'll talk with them, okay? And so everybody else, you can go ahead and go because you are going to go ahead and go to lunch. I will see you at 1 o'clock. All right. Goodbye, guys. I'll see you at 1. All right. Jesse and Matthew, if you'll hang around for a second, I'll talk to the two of you here for a moment.